Hey everyone, this is my next beginner blues video. It's to follow up the first one I did, beginner blues licks in E. Really appreciate all the likes and the views and the shares that everyone's given me on that video. Really appreciate it. So today we're going to look at something a bit different. We're going to look at a different key. So we're going to look at the key of A, being that it's probably the second most popular key. The first scale we probably all learned was A minor pentatonic, right? So we're going to look at stuff in the key of A today, but rather than minor, which we did before, we're going to look at major licks today. It's kind of like the thing that people tend to get onto second with the blues. We all kind of start with minor. I think for some reason it's slightly easier to teach people, and the shapes are quite simple to follow. So today we're going to look at some major stuff. So the first lick we're going to do is going to be based right in the middle of the neck. So it's going to be where you're used to living when you're playing an A, around that kind of area of the A minor scale. But because we're playing in major, and this is a really handy tip before we start the lick, is if you don't know how to play in major yet, a really great way to get started is take your A note, and you're used to playing a first position shape off this A note, first position out of the 5 minor pentatonic positions. But if you play the second minor pentatonic position, so this shape, that's actually going to give you the major pentatonic. So you hopefully you already know the second position, and this means you don't have to go and learn a whole new scale. So this first lick we're going to do is going to live mostly inside that first position. And the thing we're going to do with this first lick is, just to kind of ease us in, we're going to semi-blend the major and the minor pentatonic together. So here's the lick. Okay, it's very kind of, would work over classic country, it would work over a rock and roll, it would work over a rockabilly song. So there's a lot of ways you can use this. And we're kind of going to focus on, again like we did, like I mentioned in the last video, trying not to use the bottom octave of the shape too much. It's kind of hard to solo there. You can get muddied up with a rhythm guitar. So we're going to focus here. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to start on our A note, 7th fret D string, right? So that would be a note you're familiar with from playing your A minor pentatonic. It's the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6th note you get to, where the scale starts again on that A. Then you're going to go to your next minor note, which is 5th fret G string, that minor third, which is that C note. But instead of where in minor scale you usually come up to the 7th fret on the G, we're going to use the 6th fret on the G. So we're going to get this. Okay, so we've got a root note that belongs to both the minor and the major version of the scale. But then we've got a minor note followed by the major note. Minor third, major third, okay? So I'm picking this note, and hammering on to the 6th fret. Then we're going to move up to the B string, another location you'll be familiar with, 5th fret B string. That's your E note, your 5th of the scale. So you'll be used to going there when you played the minor pentatonic. So we've got root note, minor note, major note, again the 5th in both of those scales, major and minor, the 5th is shared. So, okay, now from here we're going to hammer on. Usually you'd be used to going to the 8th fret for your minor scale here, but because we're playing major here, we want to go 7th fret, okay? And I'm doing the same kind of vibe as I did on this string. I'm picking this one and I'm hammering this one on. Then we're going to finish that little ascending rise with the root note, again shared by both scales. So it's a real quasi mix of the two here. It's going to gives you a really kind of West Coast blues flavour, and it's a really kind of interesting way to kind of ease your way in to using the major scale. One more time, slow. Okay. Then we've got this cool little move here. It's like a little mini chord. We're going to play, on the B string we're going to play the major note, But on the high E string, we're going to play the minor note, that 8th fret, okay? We're going to pick them both together, and we're going to bend the 7th one up a little bit. You'll notice that's very Chet Atkins, very rockabilly move. Okay, and by all means, when you get to the top of this, if you don't want to carry on as I'm going to do back down, feel free to rock on that for a while. It'll sound really cool. Okay, so to get back down, we're going to go. Okay, so after our, we're going to go back to our root note, high E string, 5th fret. Then we're going to play minor scale on the B string. So we're going to play 8th fret, followed by the 5th fret. So our flattened 7th of our minor scale, which is our 8th fret, which is a G, 8th fret B string. Back to the E note, 5th fret B string. So we'll go up to there. Okay, now when we go to the G string, that is, what we're going to do is we're going to jump our fingers straight up. So we're not going to kind of do this alternating finger back. We're going to, after we've played this 8 and 5 on the B, we're going to go 5th fret, hammer back onto that 6th fret G like we did on the way up, and end on our root. So when you put it all together, one time fast, then one time slow. Okay, so one time slow. And you have loads of options when you get to the end here. You can leave this finger down on the G string 6th fret when you play this root at the end. You get like a little mini major chord, or you can just end it straight on the root. So one more time. Sometimes I'll drop that full A major chord in at the end. 7th fret D string, 6th fret G string, 5th fret B string. Okay. It's a great way to end a solo. So, cool, so that kind of covers the middle part of the neck. So for lick 2, rather than come up, we're actually going to go down a little bit. Because this is a really, really popular lick when you're in A major, and it's kind of a lot of the reason why people want to learn the major scale is to be able to do this. A really country little move that you can do like that. So for this, the first time I was shown it, I thought, I don't actually know in terms of the shape how this relates to any scale shapes I know. So I'm just really going to quickly mention that the major scale, or the major pentatonic scale, is all the same shapes as the minor pentatonic scale. You just got to move them down 1, 2, 3 frets. Okay. You've still got to be wary that your root notes don't suddenly move with them. So if your root note when you play first position A minor is there, right? So if you do my trick and you move it down 3 frets, 1, 2, 3, your root note isn't here anymore. That's now an F sharp, okay? So you just need to be wary of where your A's are, and just so you know, if you're playing first position off the 2nd fret to give you A major, obviously you've still got your A here, 5th fret, low E, still got an A here. Those two haven't changed location. I can play minor, they're still there and there. If I play major, those two are still the same. It's the middle root that's changed. Because we're now no longer on the 7th fret, we need to transpose this A back down. So we're going to play it on the G string, 2nd fret. So a really good tip, play the scale up and just rest on your roots. And it'll just get your brain hearing A rather than accidentally hearing like the key of F sharp minor. So cool, so this lick we're going to do this. One more time. Okay, really classic little country move. So what we're going to do is we're going to start on the 4th fret, G string. Okay, this is our B note. So that's the first part we need to get down. It can be quite tough, this depends what gauge strings you got, what kind of action you're running, but sometimes bending as you get in this first 3 to 4 frets can be quite difficult compared to up the 7th, 9th, 10th, 11th. So you're going to try and bend this up around about a full tone. Okay? Great thing about this is quite forgiving. If you're a little bit flat, it's not going to sound terrible. So once you've bent it up that full tone, you're going to play, whilst you're in full bend, you're going to play this 5th fret, that E note, on the B string with your pinky. And the trick is to get that sounding together thing. You can go, which is fine, but we want that kind of little chord in the middle. Okay? Then you're going to pick it at its full bend. Whoops. And you're going to ease it back down. And just release the pinky when you do that. So then we need that ending, okay? So after you've come back down, you're going to go back to your root note, 2nd fret G string. Okay? Then we're going to go 4th fret D string, which is an F sharp. Then I'm going to drop straight back to this 4th fret G string, give it a little micro bend, like that, with a cut off on it, and back to my root, 2nd fret G. Okay, so one more time. Okay, sounds really great slow, sounds really great fast. Okay, or okay, you've got loads of expression and vibrato on that, on those roots as well. Will give you a lot of kind of added power to that lick. Cool, so that kind of covers a little bit about how you can play on these first few frets, how you can kind of play in the middle. And I really encourage you to, if you know any classic moves that you're used to doing from position to position in minor, try them out. Once you've moved everything down 3 frets to make it major, try any of those same moves, but just be wary that your root notes will have moved. It's worth just going through your positions and refinding where those root notes live in the position, just so that when you're playing in major, you're not just kind of going on autopilot back to where you're used to finishing up and starting. You're kind of just being wary that you've got to end in the right place to land on the root, if that's what you desire to do. So cover the first few, cover the middle. The next one we're going to look is this little kind of like triangle up top. This is kind of used as a great way to start your solo in major, okay? Okay, it's that really kind of classic little triangle shape that you would have played in A minor off of the 9th fret. You'll be used to landing here on the 10th, right, for your A, and playing that house shape kind of behind that note. So you're used to going 10th fret B string for your A, and then going 8th fret B string, and then going 9th fret G string. Okay, now the great thing about this house shape is if you assume that the house is built upwards from that 3rd finger, so I replace my 3rd finger with my 1st in that location, then I can do the same move. Okay, and the lick we're going to do for that is okay, one more time. So for this one, I'm starting on the 9th fret G string, I'm sliding it up to the 11, and then I'm playing my roots on the B string, 10th fret. Sliding up with that 2nd finger to the 11, G string, and then 10th fret B string. Okay, so once I've done that first move, I'm taking the 12th fret, I'm bending it up a tone, and then I'm picking it again and I'm bending it down to rested, and then I'm going back to my root. Okay, and then when I've come down from that bend and back to my root, I'm just dropping this 11th fret G string and back. You can... Really great two notes to alternate between when you're playing in major. Okay, because you always have this slide back to the 9th that you can use a lot as well. And you can always slide to the 14th. Okay, which is really easy to do as well. So that gives us major at the bottom, major in the middle, major up by the 12. Now the last thing you might want to do is you might want to think about, if your solo really wants to take off, where are you going to go? Because in A, you're probably, well, I used to find this when I was playing in A minor a lot, especially if you don't have like 24 fret guitar or a double cutaway guitar, or a guitar that allows you to easily access the top frets. I'm playing a Telly, has this big chunky part on the back of the, kind of behind the 17th fret, which is exactly where you want to be. For minor, A minor. We're used to just playing that first position off the 17th fret. Right? But I always found that was quite hard to access sometimes. So the beauty of major is because you're kind of playing this scale 3 frets behind where it would usually be for major, it's a little more accessible. It's going to be kind of 14th to 17th fret. It's a little bit easy to play. Now you can kind of do a lot of the same, like when you play in minor, so let's go back down here, just because it's easier. You're used to kind of, I mentioned this in my last lesson, you've got 2 notes on each string, right? On these high 3 strings. So when people ask what notes do you bend, well, that's the great notes to bend, is you bend this note on the E, you bend the same note on the B, and then you adhere to the scale, so you change the 7th fret for the G. Those are all really great notes to bend. Okay. So bending can be a bit harder in major just because you might be very used to what notes you're achieving with these bends in minor, but you might not be as used to what notes you're going to achieve with bends in major. It'd be a bit more risky to just try one out on the fly. So a really great thing to remember in major is a really good one to start with is that B string higher note. So when you're playing minor, you've got this higher note on the B string, the one on the 8th fret. So let's assume we're up an octave, we're playing off the 17, but because we're in major, we've dropped it back 3 frets, so it's going to be these two. It's going to be 14 and 17 on the B string. This 17 you can still bend really nicely because you've got the major note 2 frets up from it. Okay, or you can always drop to that root instead if you like. But the reason this is good for giving bend is because if you overbend it, that's just a note from the minor scale and you're going to get this. Remember when we played this major lick, we're still using notes from the minor scale. So remember, you can blend them. So the reason this one's nice and forgiving is if you go too far, you're only going to hit an A minor note, which isn't going to sound too shocking. Whereas, for example, there's other locations where you've got to be a bit more wary. So for example, like this bend. If you bend that too far, you might be heading into like A minor blue note territory, which could sound pretty weird. But again, this high E, if you're playing this first position shape in major, is again quite forgiving because you've got the major note 2 frets up and a minor note a fret above that. So you can go to the major note, you can go. So I sometimes like to hit the major one, then the minor one. Okay, so I hope that helps a little bit. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4 locations you can play major in A, and I think that's kind of the next step to take once you've started to kind of find yourself in a bit of a rut with these minor scales. Because the thing to remember is, if you're playing over a song, let's say in the key of A major, it doesn't mean you always have to play major scale, okay? You can interject the minor scale from time to time, and if you're not, as long as you're not just playing straight minor all the time, it's probably still going to work pretty well. And then, unfortunately, it doesn't seem to work great the other way around. If you're playing in A minor, you're really going to struggle to use that A major scale much. But yeah, just give it a try, and I hope that works out for you. If there's anything else you guys want to see me do, please leave a comment below, and I'll try and get around to doing one. Cheers.